Welcome out, Golden Boys Podcast, Season 2.
Season 2, kicking it off.
Heck yeah, man. I'm here with my man, Jared. Just me and him. We're just going to chat it up today. Yeah, man.
I'm excited. Season 2, it's been on the back burner for too long.
Too long.
We really we wanted to do this a lot sooner.
Yep.
It felt like there was always a reason why we couldn't. So glad to be back at it. We're in a different spot.
Yep.
We're actually up in the live room of the recording studio.
It's so sweet.
Yeah, there's a big drum set right over there.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll shoot in a different spot, like a different way to show you some gear. Of the, sometime. But yeah, Jordan had this cool couch here. We thought this is a cool spot.
And it sounds so good.
Well, yeah, it's also treated. There's no echoes like in the front room of the old one that we used to do.
Yeah.
But hey, man, I'm excited about season 2 because we're switching things up a little bit.
Yes, we are.
So what was your vision kind of going into this next season?
Yeah, man. I mean, well, within this last year, a lot of changes. We all, towards the end of last year, we all kind of sat back and was like, all right, let's cast some new vision. Let's see what worked really well in the past, what didn't work well in the past. Let's change it. Let's shift it up. Let's also look at social media and what are we devouring via social media, via podcasts, videos, and let's kind of get with the times. I mean, that's kind of how I look at it. It's like, let's get with the times, but also let's, the main purpose of the podcast was always to give value. It's not like we're, this is a fun thing for us. Yeah. We're not making dollars off of this. No. It's all about how we can, one, give back to the screen printing community, business owners, people that just love what we do. Hopefully, they listen, whatever they listen to or whatever we do, they're encouraged. They feel like they can get to that next step in business and life in general. And so, yeah.
Yeah, we always wanted the podcast to be like another way for us to like open the doors and let people kind of come in and sit in. And we found that when we did that, when we were actually opening the doors and having people come in and hang out with us and stuff, which our doors are open pretty much. I mean, if you ever wanted to come and chill and stuff, usually we just got to schedule it. We like hanging out, meeting people and getting to chat. And John loves talking shop. And, we enjoy that kind of stuff. And but usually whenever we do that, we find that there's a few topics that we kind of always talk about.
Yep.
And a lot of them always revolve around running the business.
Yeah.
Being a business owner. Usually it's like a one-man, band type situation, where it's a, guy in his garage trying to figure out the next steps to grow in their business.
Yeah.
And since you've done that, you have some experience there and they want to glean some information off of you. Yeah. And so we end up talking a lot of business strategy and things like that. So that was kind of the next, kind of goal and vision for the podcast was let's do a little shorter form.
Yep.
Let's not do the, super long episodes and let's like kind of hone in on one topic on business, very specific.
Yeah.
And talk about that for a chunk of time.
Yep.
And then move on.
More digestible.
Something that's easier. I know there are some people that love to sit down and listen to a 2 or 3 hour podcast.
Yeah.
I have good news for you guys that want that. Sure, show's still going, and they do that. There's actually a lot of screen printing podcasts that have popped up too. So if you're wanting to, do the screen printing podcast, talking shop kind of thing, they're available. They're out there.
Yep.
We always were trying to find a way to not be like another one of those.
Yep.
We never wanted to like copy that thing.
Yeah.
And our idea was like, what we wanted to open up our doors. What can we do that's a little different?
Yep.
And so this is our kind of next idea is let's talk a specific business topic for a little bit of time.
Yep.
Now we still want to have some guests on
for sure,
whether that's via the internet or in person.
Yep.
And when we do those will probably be a little bit longer.
Yeah.
We'll probably do a longer form thing where we can talk and chat and stuff with those guys.
Yep.
But for now, we do have a specific business topic ready to go for today.
We do. So really where I feel like I can give value to other business owners is I I just have to tell people where I'm at, right? Because owning a business and growing a business and having employees, and it's, I didn't go to school for it. I literally just had a desire to do these things, and I am just constantly learning something new every single day. And I feel like as a business owner, when you're in the midst of it, in midst of the struggle or even the highlight, right? That's the best time to talk about a subject. And hopefully, not even hopefully, I know for a fact when people are going to listen, they're going to be like, God, yeah, I'm experiencing that too. Maybe not as much, but maybe
getting ready to head into that same, that same path. And I think that's always a good reason why this is why we share kind of where we're coming from and where we've been.
Yep.
Is because we know that there's people that are heading down that same path, and the goal's always been to help you not have to hit your head against the brick walls many times as we did.
the headaches. I can save you some headaches.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah, and so that's why we do YouTube. That's why we teach people how to screen print, how to design. That's still our purpose of we just don't want you to have to struggle like we did. I'm glad we're through the struggle, and I'm glad we're able to teach people and talk to people about that. Today, the one thing I want to talk about is the 3 ways to grow your business. I had coffee with some buddies of mine, business owners, dear friends of mine, and I was in this stage of I'm looking at them just waiting for them to say, hey, how are you? I'm I'm just struggling, the business is just it's just so ever changing. And my buddy Blake, shout out Blake Bear, he just goes, he's like, well, you do know the 3 ways to grow your business. And I'm like, I don't know. What are they? And Blake's he's written a book, and he is.
We had him on.
Season 1
of the episodes. Yeah.
Yep. A few seasons. 2 episodes on season 1. He's just, I love that dude. He's so smart. And he said these 3 things, and I go, oh my gosh. Yeah. That's literally my outline of where my business is at. And those are the 3 categories I need to focus all of my time and energy into, because I'm now, if you guys haven't realized through social media, that I'm in a different position now. I am literally the boss.
Yeah.
Meaning
that's all you do.
That's all I do.
All you do is boss.
I boss people around.
Yeah.
No, it's I don't really screen print. Sometimes, and I fill in, but I have a press operator, and he runs that. Invoices, and nope, don't touch those anymore.
Which is one of the best things that's ever happened to our business. I'll tell you.
It is. Life-saving moments.
We could dive into that a little bit.
Yeah. And then, I manage over I have more time to manage over every single department of my business, and just say, this is what we've done. How can we do better? How can we this? And so, number 1, how to grow your business is increase productivity, right? So, within this last year of me delegating, and I hired we'll call her assistant, but just basically a shop manager.
Yeah.
She manages over so many different things.
The real boss.
Yeah, the real boss. Girl Jordan, shout out. We have to say Girl Jordan because we have 2 Jordans that work for us, husband and a wife.
They're both Jordan.
Both Jordan.
But so they go by boy and girl.
Yeah. She manages over so many different things. But she's a shop manager, right? So last year, towards the end of last year, we were growing, just orders, everything. Every department was just growing. And, you've heard the thing to where it's just hey, you can't work on your business while you're in your business. And I've always struggled, and I just been feeling like I've been, run around with, like a chicken with his head cut off, trying to figure this out.
Well,
right?
when you're a small team, how do you get out of the business, right? You have to be in it.
Exactly.
Like there's no way to not be in it when you're the only printer, when you're the only one that can do those things.
Right.
Me and Corey weren't. I mean, Corey could kind of print a little bit, but like that wasn't his main role.
Yeah.
And we lose money if he's printing, right?
For sure.
He needs to be on designs and stuff like that. That's his role. That's his job.
Yep.
So for us, it was hard for you to kind of step away when you didn't have people to replace that part.
Right. And so obviously I made the necessary jump in business by, bringing on another person to delegate things that, first off, I'm no longer good at, right? To delegate these things and just to sit back and, humble myself and be like, I no longer can do this the most fastest, efficient way possible. I just can't.
Yeah.
And so I need someone who has the talents to be able to do that. And
some of that, I'm sorry to cut you off, but some of that's not even that you're not good at it. It's that you realize there was somebody that was better.
Correct.
Right. So I think sometimes it can be something where it's like,
no, I suck at invoices.
but there's a reason why, and we figured out that reason.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is like, it was, and it really was I don't know if it was like this big aha moment or whatever, but I remember one day where me and Jonathan were talking and I came up to talk to him and he was staring at the computer and I was like, what's going on, man? And he was just stressed out and he was just like, I've been looking at this screen for an hour.
Yeah.
And I was like, why?
Yeah.
And he was like, because I need to make sure that this order goes out right. I need, we need, because it was a stressful time. We needed the money. We need, all these things. And it's like having Girl come in and take over the invoicing, the quoting, all those things.
Yeah.
Is she was able to not have any emotional connection to it.
That's it.
Right? Where she was knocking out these things in the 5 or 10 minutes that it required and not staring at a screen for an hour because you had so much emotional attachment and baggage of like, oh man, the weight of like the entire company is on my shoulders here, and so it's like, I don't know if that was a big aha moment or whatever, but we realized it was like, oh man, that was affecting you a lot more than we realized.
Yeah. It goes back to, I told you, I was like, it was the same thing you said to me when we hired Boy Jordan was, we were just talking and trying to figure out next steps in the business. And you go, a favorite Jared line is, you can't afford him, but you can't afford not to have him.
Yeah.
And I was like, ugh.
That's an unfortunate place to be in. It's not fun, but
it's not fun at all. But so we hit the same point with Girl Jordan. I was like, if I'm going to grow this business and I'm going to find my new identity as a boss to figure out what I want to do, how can I grow these services to keep the dream alive, right?
Yep.
And it was, again, one of those things. I was like, I can't afford her, but I can't afford not to have her, because at that point it was less about the money and more about my physical health.
Sure.
Going through just, seasons of crazy stress and crazy to where it is just, affecting my body to where I was like, I have to, but so with all that and making all those choices, I was like, this is where I can finally increase productivity, because I have a person that loves organization, loves processes, loves solving problems. And legitimately, I stepped back, and all these things that I've always desired, like, ooh, I want to do this, I want to do this, they were getting done even before I even mentioned those things. Right. Like I would come in and because it was like, in the first stages, it's kind of like, what does she do besides like folding T-shirts and boxing, right?
Sure.
It's like, and I was like, hey, so I was thinking this, and she goes, well, here's an Excel sheet that, I'm like, what the,
She's got spreadsheets for everything.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, like that's exactly, that's exactly what I've always wanted. And then better yet is, so now you have it, right? But how do you implement it? And how do you get people to listen and people not to go back on like, oh, well, this is just old habits. And that's where she comes in and is the manager, to where she's like,
Yeah.
hey, did you do this? Like,
Yeah.
this is the process now. We've set the expectation that this is how we do things.
Yep.
And you're not doing it, and it's fine. There's a grace period of like,
Sure.
Hey, remember, you got to do this. You remember, you got to do this. But that's another thing that took the weight off of it, is just like,
you weren't having to do that follow up.
yeah,
That's the sign of a great leader is, and I think Girl has really great. She does a really good job at this. But great leaders set clear expectations and then inspect what they expect.
Yeah,
and you have to go through, because if you just say, "Hey, I want you to get this done," and then you never follow up, then people will. They're never going to come and check. So I'll keep cutting the corners that I've normally, or whatever. And we have a small company, so it's not like we have people that don't know each other and that everybody likes to cut corners. But when you change the way that you do something, whenever we start implementing new processes, it's hard for everybody to adjust or remember. Yeah. And she does a great job of that follow up, where it's out of your brain. You don't have to mess with it.
And the other thing for me as a boss is like think about it. If I like, hey Jared, I really need you to do this. Like this is the new process. This is what I expect of you, right? Like boom, I do it, and then I don't follow up. Then I'm like, hey, why didn't you do that thing I told you to do? Oh wait, now you're being lazy. Like you're not doing what I'm telling you to do. Like I had no infrastructure as a boss to where I can even like analyze, like, wait, like, no, and then that's just the accountability that Jordan brings, is like, no, she hits you up and says, hey, can you put this, on the schedule, on the calendar? Can we do, and then she'll literally check with you at the end of the day and say, hey, did you do that? And so increasing productivity has been our last probably 5-6 months.
Yeah.
It's been,
if not more,
it's been painful.
Yeah.
But that's how you grow business, because time is money, right? And is like, if you like, the one thing that drives me nuts is like, if we're just standing around and we don't know the next thing to do. And in a print shop, sometimes you just get to that point. And there's so many different pivoting moments. But now we have processes on the pivoting moments, to where there's so much movement. That's the best word for me. It's like there's just so much movement,
but not spinning your wheels.
Exactly,
because I think there's a difference there
for sure.
And a lot of people that are your personality type have a tendency, right, to as long as something's happening, then we're doing something. Well, that's not always the case, right? No, it's not. My wife has the exact same thing, right? Where it's like, I have to do something, and it's like, yeah, but you didn't do anything. Yeah, and you wasted time thinking you were being productive. You're tricking your brain by being busy, right? But not actually accomplishing anything of substance or value. So you have to be careful of that, and that's why having somebody like Girl, basically, so to wrap up, our number one point is hire Girl Jordan to increase productivity. But
she
seriously,
can do Zoom calls.
find that somebody for you. As you grow. You're going to have to replace positions. You can't do everything. You can't be a one-man band forever if you're trying to grow to a certain level. Correct. If you're trying to stay where you're at and do that and get super efficient in that, cool, do that. But if you're trying to grow your business to another level, there's a way to do it properly, and it's you have to hire out some of these things to get these things delegate out of your brain.
So number one, increase productivity. So look at the things in your shop that, I would suggest this to anybody. Like before, if your goal is to go to an auto, right? And an auto shop and all the auto things, right? My advice to you is work on these things now, because it is uncomfortable when you already realize you're past the point where you should have been working on these things. Sure. And it's just, you have to set aside time. And
what are some of those specifics?
So
that you're talking about.
So for us, being totally transparent, I feel like we've just kind of we've gotten by for many years with not like streamlined processes. We've just gotten by. Thankfully, mock-ups has been like my arch nemesis for 8 years. I just hate them. And I'm just like, no, I know my client. Like I can print and I can text them and we can get the information. I can get the job done, and I'm confident in saying like in both hands, this is the amount of mess ups I've had in 8 years off of like printing a wrong thing, which is pretty good after 8 years. However, I'm no longer in that studio.
I was just say that was whenever you were on the press.
That's it.
And you were the one, it was your phone they were communicating through.
Yeah. And now it has to go through other people. I don't know what gets printed all the time. I'm not over there. And so we had to build these processes from when a quote comes in to when we ship out shirts. And we built all these processes out to where it is so streamlined. I am confident to say it is probably the most well-oiled machine in this business. And it came at a cost, but we did it. And now, because we have these processes, it's going to make my business more money because we're faster, better, and we don't mess up as much. So it's saving us money there too. So that's, increase productivity, all the things. Number 2 is one of those ones that I have a very hard time with, and that is cutting expenses. Because cutting expenses for me really points to all the areas to where, in the business, like there's a lot of wants for me. And that's the reason why we've been able to get to the place we've gotten. And so for me and growing a business, cutting expenses, a lot of people would look at a lot of the things we do and say, you immediately have to cut positions, right? Because you don't need video, or you don't need this, or you don't need design, or you don't need assistant, because your expenses are too high. And my response to that is, I want all of them.
Right.
And all of those have made me money and is going to continue to make me money, but it's for the goal. And that is hard. But that's where you, as a business owner, you just have to choose your tolerance. That's one thing that I just know that I have a different tolerance than a lot of people with money, whether good or bad.
To your detriment or not.
But it's all for it's the investment. And that's what people, the overnight successes, they just don't happen. It's the wee hours of the night that, me sending quotes, working on artwork, all that stuff, that's the stuff that got us to this point. And now that I've delegated those things and I have the right people in place, the right team, that every single team member has told me, like, this is our end game. Like, this is in game. Like, this is my retirement plan. Like to do shirts, to do design, to do photos, to do video, that's in game. Yeah. And so you have to understand, or you have to be willing to sacrifice and to also pivot and to figure out where your business is at in that time frame, to get creative, to cut expenses, but also not cut the necessary people to help you get to that goal.
Yeah, I think that it's a tricky balance there, right? I mean, that's a tough, because for your shop, for a random guy's shop out there, it may be the right call to cut that employee.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's where it gets tricky, because you have to figure that out. You've been fortunate enough that you haven't had to wipe out entire departments to cut expenses.
For sure.
The main thing there, I think, is looking at we've done yearly breakdowns and seen like, okay, how much departments are bringing in to the business,
right?
And luckily at the end of those reports, we've been able to look and say, okay, that makes me feel better.
Yeah.
and it's good to like, I mean, that was not necessarily something that I had that I was privy to know in the beginning years was exactly how much trackable income did video bring into Golden Press, but it made me feel a lot better this last year whenever we looked through everything. I was like, oh, okay, I don't suck. I'm not like the biggest burden, on the company and a waste of space and should just go home. So like, it gave me, reinvigorated me too. And so like looking at those things and evaluating and figuring out where can we cut costs? What are the things that we can do to cut costs? Yeah. And being cutthroat about it, having to find those.
Yeah. And full transparency, like right now I'm, because I have that more time, like my eyes are on the bank account. My eyes are on what's going out, what's coming in. Like that is my job right now, is managing that and figuring out, where I can cut expenses. And so for me, I have been a little choosier to where it's like, hey, y'all are buying your flipping lunch. Like I've paid for, company lunches and I buy everyone's lunches. Like I've always done that for all these years. But like right now in this season, I'm just like, hey guys, like it's just like, I'm just looking at everything and I'm trying to be smart. I'm trying to manage this well. I'm looking at all the things. Now for you as a shop, literally look at your electric bills, right? Look at your utilities, look at what you're spending in chemicals, like look at all these different things, whether you pay rent or you don't. Like maybe you can connect with, another person that has like a commercial spot, and then you can actually get in there and split rent, like I really feel like our future, and we've shared this, is like our future building. It's not just going to be us. Like I'm going to have other businesses, like other friends, other people I trust in this business to help the weight, right?
Split the cost of this massive building that we desire.
Yeah, we desire and we will need for growth, but mainly to do all the things we want to do in-house underneath one roof so that we can stay creative, so we can continue to do the things we love. And so you have to get creative. Cutting expenses, it's hard.
But really, it's just a fancy way of saying, like, okay, I'm saving up for this thing that I want. Like, it's the same thing. It's the same concept.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I struggled so much when I was younger saving money. Mm-hmm. Hated it. If I had $20, then what can I buy for $20? I'm going to find it right now.
Burning a hole in the pocket.
Burned. All my jeans have holes burned in the pockets, man. It's like, but that's the way I operated. And then I married a woman that said, or we can not spend every dime and maybe have some in the bank for emergencies, and then we can save up for the important things that we want, and learning how to save and budget. Yeah. It's hard for somebody who's not good at that naturally. Yep. But man, it makes a big difference. And that's really what we're talking about here. Yep. Is when you're trying to grow, you have to go into budget mode. Yeah. You have to go into cost saving mode. Yeah. And you got to find the ways, you find the areas, and maybe, and this has been the big one for us, maybe some of those spots where you can save time or save money is by saving time, not wasting time, not, what are some ways that we could cut down on, this process, we saved this much time. Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. Or hey, let's just not do that and waste all that time. Yeah. Because this was a big time suck for us. Yep. Yeah. And we lost out on a lot of work by doing this thing. Yeah. And we need to put that on the back burner or shut it down completely. Like find those ways. When you're in budget mode, you're gonna have to be a little cutthroat.
Yeah, and I think like what you said, the big thing for me that I've seen we've improved on so much here recently with how we're cutting expenses by saving time is that like I've went with to you, to Corey, to both Jordans, to Zach, and I said, like, this is what I expect every single month.
Yep.
Like, this is the expectation of, hey, I want to get these things done, right? And we went heavy on digital assets, heavy on video. We have a new YouTube video dropping every single Friday. It's all scheduled out. We're all ahead of
almost every Friday. We're doing 4 videos a month right now.
Yeah, sorry.
So on the months where 5 Fridays hit, we're not posting that 5th video, but we're hitting 4 YouTube videos a month, which is something we've never done before.
Never been able to do it, but we just kind of threw everything out the doors. Like, this is what we have to do to stay on this. And what does YouTube do for us? It brings in sales.
Generates business.
Yep. And it generates connections. And it's an important thing for us. And we finally just like, yep, this is how we have to do it. And because we're on time, we feel good about the schedule.
Yeah.
Shoot days are happening. They're not longer, we just can't do it today, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're being like, this podcast today, we've had to push it day after day.
Yeah.
But because things have happened, we're just like, we have to. It's Wednesday, or is it Wednesday? Yeah.
I don't know.
Me either. It's Wednesday. This podcast is going up Friday. It's happening. And that's been a massive thing that I've seen we've been able to do is put it on the schedule, stick to the schedule, no excuses, find a way to get it done.
Yeah.
And that has cut that time and has made us money because we're sticking to the schedule.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Wrapping up, trying to find the areas to where you can cut expenses and just
go into budget mode, find ways to save money, save time.
Yep.
And be strict. Be strict with yourself.
Yep. 100%. And then last thing is the one that I've been working hard, and that is increasing revenue, increasing sales, right? And, we had a conversation a little while back that, I just told you guys, like, man, I have to be honest with us. If you listen to the podcast, you've probably heard us say this 1,000 times, like, legitimately, is that, like, our clientele is bands and brands, and, we work with, and it's just like, bands and brands aren't, like, they're not doing it right now, you know, like, yes, we work with bands and brands, but our I don't know, our vision's kind of just narrowed to these two things. And that's what
it's one of those things, right? Where it's like, we always encourage this, is like, promote what you want to do more of. We like doing these things, and we can usually add in other services that we offer into a lot easier into like a band or a brand. Right. Which is why we like go after those so much. For sure. Because it allows us to like diversify all of our things. Yep. But the reality is, at the end of the day, like, we'll print anything for any company. Yep. We have for years. It's not that we've never limited ourselves to only print these things, but when we've only promoted those things, right? I think the statement is true. Yeah. Promote what you want to do more of. Right. Yes. Yeah. Also, like, don't like alienate all the other things though that you still will do. Right. And I think maybe we've been guilty of that a little bit. Yeah, that's it. Or just not reminding our clients that, like, hey, we'll print for whatever. Yeah. I mean, again, it's, in the creative realm, you're like, I got into screen printing. I was like, man, I just want to print really cool stuff, right? I think that's everybody's like first initial thing, right? And bands and brands is typically the really cool stuff, and I think we enjoy it. Like, when it's on press, like, we just enjoy it so much more, to where we're like, this, we're just excited that, like, the finished product is started here. Because it's cool art. Yeah. Yeah. And it started here, and, and we just been so laser focused on that, to where it's just like, you know what? Like, let's print Franklin High School shirts, increasing revenue is getting to that point to where what you've done to that point is no longer pouring into your business. Like, you're just like, you feel like you're tapped out, because I feel like we spend a lot of time working with bands because we're trying to get them in the recording studio, trying to do merch, trying to do this. And it's just like,
I feel like it's hard. It's been really hard.
And not that it hasn't worked, but yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, when the printing side of it hasn't stayed, as consistent as you wanted it to.
Yeah.
Where it's like the start of this year, which I mean, we've talked to some other friends and stuff in the industry that a lot of people have kind of experienced a slower start. And I don't know, election year, recession. There's a lot of words that people like to throw around that give reasons behind it. I don't know, but it's slower than it has been in the past.
Yep.
So we're in a place where now it's like, okay, well, we still want to keep growing the business.
Yeah.
And so we got to find a way to increase revenue.
Yep.
And so that is going outside of the box a little bit of what we normally do.
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with like niching down.
Yeah.
But you have to be willing to pivot and make adjustments as you go.
Yeah, I feel like where I'm at now, just as the boss, like looking, because I am good at sales and I am good at building relationships with companies and schools and churches and people. Like I love that. That's a desire that this is the reason why I went into business, is because I have a network of people that I just love working with people. But I'm at the point where I have to spread my nets wider. I also, we've talked about like early Instagram days, like anytime we had someone add us or start following us or comment on a photo, I literally would click on it, like it, comment, send them a DM, say, hey, I love your clothing brand, would love to work with you. Hey, do you have a lawn, landscape business or something like that? I'm like, hey, I bet you need shirts, hey, let's do a brand. Like I was in sales mode to where that's how I was networking. That's how I was connecting with people. And our Instagram was the thing that was growing and people were landing on our page because they liked what we did. And it was, for a customer looking in, it's like, dang, these guys like very polished, very clean. Man, they know what they're doing. Wow, they spent a lot of time on making this look a certain way.
Wow, they're good.
They're fast.
They're good.
Good Guardian quote, man.
Yeah. If you haven't watched The Guardian, it's a great movie.
Oh, it's one of my favorites. So as of lately, for me, I'm just like, I got to get back to the old ways of reaching out and being diligent and consistent and just trying to connect with new people, because I've said this a million times too, is that your business can change overnight by finding that right customer.
Sure.
And we've seen it. Like we have the best customers.
We could also change overnight by losing that customer.
That is true also.
We've seen it.
Yeah. But like, it's like, trying to find new people that one, like, you want to work with people that, you feel like it's going to be a mutual benefit, but just, I don't know, just knocking on the doors, like that's what I feel like I'm doing. I am a salesman. I'm knocking on people's doors.
Yeah.
That's how we're going to get through this just lull of a season to where things are slow and things are, that's what I'm doing. And I'll tell you this, like, it's been fun. Like, I've missed it. You've probably seen the DMs. I've been DMing people and just connecting with people, jumping on phone calls, helping people try to reach their dreams and their visions for their business, adding in shirts and photos and video and just all those things we do. Like, I'm like, man, like, I miss this. And now, just being honest, like, I need to get out of these four walls of like, tattoo, the Studio One, tattoo shop, Studio 2, auto shop. Like, I just need to get out of these walls, and I'm going to start making some trips and just go hang out with people and get more coffee with people and literally just go out to dinner and just talk with people about business and connect. And that currently is how I'm going to try to just increase revenue in the business, is spread my net wider.
Well, and you have to, I'll tell you what won't work. I'll tell you what won't work.
Tell me, because I want to know.
Is sitting around and expecting something to happen.
Dang it! You just described me.
That doesn't work, And then we've seen that. I mean, right? And who hasn't tried that at some point in their life with something, a problem they're having or whatever?
Yeah.
And we could talk about personality tendencies and all that kind of stuff, and different people, will kind of approach problems different ways. But regardless of any of that, one thing that I've seen is whenever you're in the midst of a problem, you know, I always use a fire as an example because to me problems are like fires, right? And there's a reason. I mean, we use that analogy all the time. People are always like, "Oh, just been putting out fires all day." It's like, well, not literally, but like because fires are a really good analogy to a problem because if you don't do anything, it will continue to eat. Yeah. And it will continue to destroy. Yeah. And it will continue to damage. Yeah. And so that's one thing I've always struggled is like I don't understand that mentality of like I'm just gonna wait and this is gonna go away. It's like no, the whole damn house is gonna burn down. Do anything
for sure.
Anything. Yeah. I don't know if it's the right thing, but I'm doing something
for sure.
Right?
For sure.
Like, and I think that's the biggest thing I can say in, you know, we can look at these three things like, yes, these are three very, what was the first one? I was trying to keep flow with it. I have no idea. I don't remember the first one. Increase productivity, cut expenses, and getting phone calls. Oh, wait. This guy is on his phone 95% of the day.
Hey, Mom, I'll call you back later.
All right. Increasing productivity, cutting expenses, and then increasing revenue. And we can talk about all those things and then give you little points of like, and I think we've done a good job of breaking down like, hey, these are how we've kind of navigated this last couple of years of dealing with these things, excuse me, of trying to grow our business. But at the end of the day, all these things are about problem solving. Yeah. And one way that you will not solve a problem is by not doing anything. that won't work. Yeah. And so like Jonathan was just saying, like I gotta shake it up. I gotta do something different. Yep. I need to quit doing what I was doing. Yeah. You know, and I think that's so important to remember moving forward, regardless of what stage you're in your business, regardless of if you want your business to survive, you're gonna have to be a problem solver. Yeah. And I don't know what the answer is all the time. Right. But I guarantee you I'm going to be doing something to solve the problem. Yep. I'm throwing a bucket of water on something and hoping that the flames get smaller. Yeah, for right? Sure. Yeah, that's so good. And sometimes you get better at it, you know, and sometimes you'll really mess it up and that you'll still burn down, but at least you tried. At least you were doing something. Yeah. It's guaranteed to burn down if you just sit there and watch it.
Yeah, that's so good, man. Looking at like, you know, for us, like, and how I did the business, I tell everybody I did it backwards, right? Yeah. I really did. Like, so I was in my garage and I reached out to my network of people, you know, people I knew from church, you know, other buddies that have businesses, and I just started reaching out, right? And then, but I was still just in my garage. I didn't really want people to, like, people came and picked up shirts, but I was like, ooh, yay, look, my garage, you know, like I just wasn't stoked to show people, like, you know, the shop. And then we got to the studio, the first commercial spot, and just made it look awesome, look sweet. I was like, man, I'm confident. Like, it'd be cool if people came in, but I didn't want people to come in because I knew, like, I didn't want to print the 5 shirts. I didn't want people to waste my time, you know, and I didn't have the infrastructure set up to be able to take in walk-ins, right?
Yeah, you didn't have like a retail space.
Right. So what did we do? We focused all of our energy on social media, Instagram, YouTube, like videos, like just website, just making everything look good online, so that if we have a strong online presence, people will probably want us to work. They'll probably want to work with us. And we have lived off of that for 8 years. Well, 7 years. Yeah. That we've just had residual people hit us up. Because of what we've invested there, people just find us off a YouTube video, find us off a podcast, find us off a whatever, and we print their shirts. But guess what? It no longer works.
Not by itself. Yeah. Well, once again, we can't sit around and wait.
Exactly.
Right. And that's it. That's been our last years. We've been having to, like, okay, let's pivot some things and figure out some things that aren't and are working. Yep. And some of that's been like, okay, but the biggest problem with YouTube was consistency.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, and so once again, going back to our 3 steps to growing the business, is we had to figure out a way to increase productivity.
Yep.
And so that's what we've done.
Yep.
And so now we're utilizing YouTube to
feed the business,
generate business, to show, not only to teach people, because that's a big part of it, right? Yeah. Obviously, we like to do the tutorial stuff.
Yeah.
We like to educate and do those kind of things, but also it also generates business for the company. And it gets us work.
Yeah, and we've made that switch that I'm so stoked that we did. Like we're putting ads in our videos, right?
Yeah.
What are those ads about?
What we do.
What we do.
Until we have companies that want to come in and pay for, ad spots in the videos, which is like, whatever. We don't even care about that anymore. No. We're not even pursuing it.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is like, if we're going to have an ad spot in a YouTube video, it's going to be like
promoting us.
Hey, this is something that we offer.
Yeah. And constantly reminding people of just like, hey, these are all the things we do.
Yeah.
So we've increased productivity. I'm still figuring out how to cut expenses and get creative, right?
You're going to constantly be evaluating that.
Always. And then increasing, that's the thing with all increasing revenue. All 3 of those things, none of those can stop, right?
Right.
They are all ever changing with the growth of your business.
Exactly.
And as long as you remember that, you're going to be in a good spot. And this is my thing that I would suggest to any shop that's listening, any business, is you need to ask these questions probably monthly. Quarterly's a good start, but monthly, so that you don't put all your eggs in one basket, and you're reaching out, you're doing the processes, you're cutting expenses, you're doing all those things. It's a good reminder to just check in and have someone to hold you accountable within your business and say, hey, where are we at this month?
Yeah.
What came in? What didn't come in? Oh, that's an area that actually we got a lot of business. Maybe we should reach out to more companies like this.
Well, that's what I was about to say. That evaluation period is also good to make sure you don't put all your eggs in one basket that's not working. But it's also good to make sure that you're putting enough eggs in the basket that is working.
For sure.
So you have to have that constant evaluation. Yep. And that's why I think quarterly is a good starting place. So because it allows you some time to see is this good?
Yeah.
That seems to be going good. Okay, let's keep doing that.
Yeah.
You have to constantly be evaluating those things.
And then I think a quarterly is great. Yeah, that's a quarterly full evaluation, but I think you should also cut back and look at a monthly expenses. Sure. Because if it's quarterly, then you already spent it, 3-4 months worth of stuff to where, I don't know, is that thing, can you cut that? Do you need it?
Right.
Or the thing that I feel like we're kind of having to do is kind of having to go backwards a little bit. It was just like, you know what? Hey, we've paid for this or we do this. We can figure out a better way to do it without having that cost, and so, don't be afraid to go back a little bit so that you can get sprung, hopefully forward a lot farther,
Sure.
But yeah, that's it. That's how, those are 3 ways how I'm currently trying to grow Golden Press. And if you apply those things like we talked about to your business, it's at least starting something.
It's doing something.
That's it.
Don't let it burn down around you. Yeah, I think that and it's funny because these aren't groundbreaking statements, right? It's not like you could say that and people. I know people could say, well, yeah, freaking obviously,
duh.
But I know for me it helps to. Sometimes it's things that I know, yeah, of course, but when it's articulated out and somebody says hey, are you doing these things though? I know they're simple concepts, but simple doesn't mean easy.
Correct.
And so sometimes you have to be reminded that okay, I know this is simple, but simple can be very difficult.
For sure.
Simple just means not complex. It doesn't mean that it's easy to do, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean if I want to have $1 million, I have to save this much money in my bank to have that by this amount by this time?
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah.
Simple concept.
Not easy.
Not easy to do, right? And so they're simple versus easy. I like talking about that because just because something's not complex doesn't mean it's not very difficult.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, these may be simple concepts, but constantly reevaluating these things is important.
Yep.
Make sure you can keep your business on the right path. Make sure it's growing, because that's the goal. At the end of the day, you got to make some money.
Yeah,
you gotta have a successful business.
Yep.
Or you'll have
die.
You have to shut your doors. Yeah, I mean,
burn down,
burn to the ground, and that would suck.
Yeah, man. But yeah, I mean, let's wrap it up. I mean, as far as this is the type of content that we're wanting to do from here on out. Is just really being strategic with trying to talk about things that we're going through, that someone else we know is going through, to try to problem solve and help get your business to the next point.
Absolutely. If you have any topics that you want to talk about, that you want to hear us talk about, if you want to hear these idiots fumble through some thoughts, I mean, hit us up. You can always hit us up through any social media stuff, emails. We'll have all those things linked, ways you can contact us. Let us know some topics, some business topics, something that you're specifically going through right now. If we don't know, then maybe we'll get on a guest that does know.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to pretend we know something that we don't. So
100%.
But yeah, that's kind of the new format for season 2.
Party on.
For the next episode, next week, we're going to have a familiar face. We're going to have Corey on.
Oh, man.
We're going to be talking about some cool stuff. We're going to talk about some diversification within your business.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a fun one.
Yep.
Looking forward to that. Until then.
See you later. Golden Boys out.